A lot of coaches think that bringing AI in is going to make their business feel robotic and dehumanize them. In the past, it would have taken months to do the slide deck, to do all of the work that comes along with planning a workshop. The biggest issue that coaches face when they're using AI is that they're just starting a new chat every time they... Welcome to the Fuel Your Flow podcast. I am your host, Valerie Feghali, physical therapist turned software CEO and business coach for health and wellness coaches. We are going to be talking about all things health and business. They might be more closely related than you think. So let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome back to another episode of Fuel the Flow. Today we are diving into AI. And I know a lot of you might be thinking, I already use AI. ChatGPT is my best friend. I'm already doing it in my business. Or you might be on the flip side of that thinking, I'm not a tech person. I'm not tech savvy. This isn't likely something that I'm going to bring into my business as like a core feature of my business. But here is the truth. AI can save you a tremendous amount of time on the back end when you're doing it correctly. And a lot of coaches, because we got into this business to help people, to connect with people, to make a difference in people's lives, a lot of coaches think that bringing AI in is going to make their business feel robotic and dehumanize them. And the truth couldn't be further from that. In fact, it will give you way more time back with your clients. I have had so much time. I've never had this amount of time in my business to be face-to-face with my community, to do more workshops, webinars, free trainings, boot camps. We've done so many events over the past 6 months because we have implemented AI to do a lot of the back-end work that really isn't front-facing or doesn't matter to the customer so much. It's just the admin stuff that we're handing off to AI so that we can keep our clients accountable, so that we can be there for our community to help them overcome any obstacles that we're running into. And it's been so unbelievably satisfying and fulfilling to me to get that time back with my community. And I want to give that to you guys too. So in this episode, we're going to dive into specific use cases, and then I'm also going to talk about how I am using AI in my business, because I want to be real with you and show you what it looks like from the inside. Now, we used to use ChatGPT for the majority of what we did. We have now switched over to primarily using Claude as our assistant. Claude works a little bit differently in the fact that if you've been using ChatGPT, you might be using custom GPTs where you can build out basically a task for that custom GPT to work on for you. So this could be things like writing show notes for a podcast or drafting a sales page for a new product that you have. It works a little bit differently in Claude. So the way that Claude sets it up is that you have projects which function as the brain of the actual task. So this is where you would upload your knowledge files. Think past newscasts or past newsletters that you've written, past podcast scripts that you've recorded, any sort of live workshop replays and transcripts from coaching calls that you have, anything that's going to train the actual brain on how you want your content to look and the type of content and coaching that you deliver. And so with that, we upload our knowledge files into a project and it is stored there. So for example, I have a project for my podcast hub, and this is where I have past transcripts of my podcast. I have details about past guests that we've had on. I've had details about questions that we've been asked about the podcast, the reviews that we've gotten from the podcast. So this brain really knows everything about our podcast. You can do this for your group coaching program. You can do this even for your one-on-one style of coaching as well. So it gets to learn how you operate. Now, outside of that, there's something called skills. And skills is more of the actual skill, for lack of better terms, that the AI would need in order to complete a certain task. So think of this as like the copywriter skill. So I have a skill specifically for writing newsletters for my podcast. So I've trained that skill on exactly what I want the output to be. I want it to take the top 3 takeaways from each podcast. And I also wanted to take the top 3 action steps that my community can take today in order to start working towards the things that we discussed in the podcast. Now, the system already has the transcript from the podcast, which I upload automatically into the brain of Claude, so into the project. And from there, it can then use the skill to write the newsletter for me, to draft the newsletter. Now, I would never just have it send the newsletter out without me reviewing it. I always go back, I make some tweaks. Now, we've trained it pretty well that I'm doing maybe 20% tweaks where I used to be doing closer to 50% tweaks. And so we are making some adjustments before those go out. But it has all of the content. I've already recorded the podcast. I don't need to go back and rewatch the podcast and figure out, okay, what are the key points that I want my community to take from this podcast? I've already done the work. So now I just need AI to go analyze everything and deduct everything so it's in a succinct, easy to digest format for my community. And you can do the same. So think of this as your meeting notes from a client session, for example. Maybe you had your initial session with that client. You talked about their goals. You talked about their habits. You talked about what they've tried in the past. And now you need to create some sort of battle plan for them. Well, you can have AI help you with that. You can have it analyze that transcript from the meeting that you had with your client. I would recommend recording all meetings, of course, with their permission. And then you can have AI help you analyze that transcript so that you know, okay, what was a reminder and what did they say about their top goals? What were the exact words? And you can have it pull that out so that you can create a plan, an action plan that's actually meaningful for that specific client and not just a generic plan that maybe you've give to other clients as well. It's more specific and customized for that particular client. So that's one way that it can help you. I want to drop a quick note before I continue. We are hosting an AI bootcamp, which is a 3-day bootcamp showing you how to start building a knowledge base inside of Claude, build the brain, and then build the skills that are going to take daily, weekly, and monthly work off your plate. We are going to show you how we use it inside of our business and how you can use it in your business. I'll be hosting this with myself and my ads manager, who is an expert at AI. The show notes will have the link to the bootcamp, and I hope to see you there. Using Claude, I also create things like our sales page. So if we have a new workshop coming up, if we have a new product that we just created, or if I need to rewrite a sales page because it's maybe not performing or converting very well, I do a lot of that in Claude. Now, I've met with many business coaches, and so not only do I upload my own knowledge files into there where it's my own coaching transcript, point of view, thought process, but if I've had a one-on-one coaching session or a group coaching session with another coach too that I admire and that I think is doing well, and I like the coaching material that they provided to me, I can also upload that transcript into my knowledge file so that when I'm writing a sales page, some of the advice that they had given me can carry through to the rewrite. And so you can see how this just makes everything in your business faster and easier. One thing that I absolutely love using AI for is to help me write my slideshows for when I'm doing a workshop or a presentation. Usually I've already written the outline, I've already drafted some sort of guide to go with that particular project or with that presentation, and I want some help just formatting the slides and generating the slides. Claude does an amazing job with that. It can actually create the entire slide deck for me based on the content that I provide to it. Now, I would never give it a generic prompt of just say, hey, go create a slide deck for a workshop that I'm doing on building sales pages. Then that would be very it would not come out well. It would not be in my tone of voice. It would not be what I really am good at training on. So I need to give it a lot of context. A lot of times I will upload different resources that I have provided in the past for a similar topic so that it can see exactly what I'm working on. Now, I already have in Claude the database and the MC files for it to be able to show my design preferences. So that's already there. I don't have to redo that every time. So each and every time I go in to create something like a slide deck, it will pull over my brand preferences and do that for me in the slide deck. Now, again, there are always pieces that I need to edit and make better. So once I bring it into Keynote, or you can't transfer it directly into Canva, but if I brought it into Keynote directly, I can just make some edits there and fine tune the slideshow so that it's ready to go. This has allowed me so much more time with our community to do trainings, to do boot camps, to do business reviews with them. It's allowed me that time to get in front of my clients, to interact with my clients, where in the past, it would have taken months to do the slide deck, to do all of the work that comes along with planning a workshop or a boot camp, including the sales page, including the emails, everything that needs to be done. There's a lot that goes into hosting a workshop, but it has gotten so much quicker using AI that now I can host them on a regular basis and provide a ton of value for my community. And you can do the same. So here are some additional use cases for a wellness business. Now, if you have a podcast, you can use AI to write all of your show notes, to deduct your email newsletters from that podcast, even to come up with guest ideas and guest pitches, to come up with ideas for topics to talk about on your podcast. And this can all be done inside of one project in Claude. So you wouldn't be giving it separate instructions every single time that you ask for this task to be done. It would be one skill that you're uploading into one project, and it provides you with the output and the content that you are looking for. So again, you don't need to reprompt it every single time. And I think that's the biggest issue that coaches face when they're using AI, is that they're just starting a new chat every time they go into, let's say, ChatGPT, for example, or Claude, for example. They start with a new prompt and a new chat, and you don't need to do that. If you've already spent the time and the work on building out the system, building out the brain, building out the skills, then you don't need to reprompt it every single time. Another use case is turning your client sessions into customized action plans. Now, we talked a little bit about this already. So if you have an initial assessment or a review of some kind and you need to rework the battle plan, you can absolutely have AI draft that for you. It would be in the format that you're asking it for. So you would tell AI exactly the output that you want it to provide, the format of the output that you want it to provide, and it would go through the call recordings and help you with that. Now, you can also have it help you to write sales pages. So if you have some sort of new event that you're doing, or if you want to redo your sales page for your service or your product, anything on your website, you can have Claude write that for you and even design it for you. Now, it can't pull it over directly to your website. However, there is an HTML code that you could grab and copy into your website if you know how to do that. I know that might be a little bit more tech heavy for some people listening to this, but what you can do is have it design it. You can send it over to your website developer, or you can do it yourself if you're doing it in something like Go High Level or Kajabi or wherever you have your websites. But this gives you an incredible framework to work with, and it's so much quicker than starting with a blank page. Now, as far as email marketing goes and newsletter drafts, I would first start by creating a newsletter for your clients that they love, that they're opening, that they're reading. And I would be writing this by hand for quite some time before you hand this task largely over to Claude, because it needs to understand your style of writing, what's working, what's not. You need to see what's working, and you need to make sure that it's really in your words. Now, once you have a well-working newsletter, you like the format, you like the open rates and the responses that you're getting from that type of newsletter, then you can start to hand that task over to AI with, of course, your input. So I have a newsletter writer inside of Claude that helps me format my newsletter, but I give it most of the context. So I tell it exactly, what I want to discuss that week, the important aspects of the topic that we are discussing, the points, the take-home points that I want them to come home with. If I have a book recommendation in there, I actually tell it which book recommendation I give, but it helps to summarize the content and format it for me, which again saves me so much time on the back end. And it's just one skill. I don't have to reprompt it each and every time. You can also train AI to respond to frequently asked questions. So every time you get a question, I would be putting that question, that email into a document that AI can then scan, and it can draft email responses or DM responses for you. Again, this is for commonly asked questions that just makes it so much quicker. Now, another thing that I love AI for is repurposing content. This is a major time saver, and it's all your original content. So, for example, if I've done a podcast episode, I can now repurpose this video into social media posts, into a newsletter, into a YouTube video short. There's so much content in just one piece of work that you do. Again, if you host a workshop, you can take clips from that and use it on your social media or use it on your website, and you can have AI do that for you. I want to close with something practical because I know some of you listening to this are thinking, okay, I'm sold, but I have no idea how to actually start. Here is what I want you to do. Do not try to implement everything all at once. That task is going to drain your energy. What I would do is I would start by opening Claude and start importing some of your knowledge files, some of your past transcripts, some of your past examples of newsletters, whatever it is that you have in your business that you have created, start uploading some of that in there. And this needs to be your own proprietary content or, coaching calls that you've gotten permission to use. So you don't want to be uploading other people's content into AI. That would be unethical. But your own content, start uploading that into AI and then start to use that as your knowledge base moving forward. Create one skill. What do you want it to do? Think of this as a task that you do on a weekly, daily, or monthly basis and create a skill from it. Claude has a great skill prompter that's going to help you build that. So I hope you got something out of this episode. If you did, please share it with a friend or write us a 5-star review. We would be so grateful so that we can keep the podcast going. I will see you again on the next one. I hope you enjoyed our conversation from today. Any links we discussed will be in the show notes below. Also, we would be incredibly grateful if you would leave us a 5-star review. This helps us keep the podcast going so that we can continue to provide value for all of you. I hope we see you on the next one.